Hi, I'm Savannah Marshall and you're watching the talkSPORT MMA channel.
Yes, so Savannah, I saw you training on the mats earlier, grappling. How's training going ahead of the fight on June the 8th?
Training's going really well, so this is my last week training and then it's fight week. Yeah.
You excited about the fight week in terms of getting in the cage? It's been a long process for you, 9 months in terms of training. You excited to get ready and get in the cage?
I am. I'm really looking forward to it. It's 9 months, but I've enjoyed it. I've really enjoyed it. I'm excited. This is new. It's something I've never done before, so yeah, it's a bit different from getting in a ring.
And what bit of the training you enjoyed the most?
Funny enough, I've actually enjoyed the grappling the most. I think 20 odd years of punching starting to bore me a little bit. I like the floor work.
We spoke a couple of months ago and you said the same thing in terms of enjoying the grappling, but also how it's kind of humbled you. Is learning a new skill part of the reason why you took up MMA and the reason why you joined the PFL?
Yeah, it was. Obviously, it was the opportunity. It kind of came out of the blue. There isn't a lot of options left for me in boxing. Obviously, there's the rematch with Clarissa, what never come off. And apart from that, there's not that many girls. I haven't really got a mandatory or anything like that, so it's come at the right time.
And in terms of your opponent, Mela Vargas, when I spoke to you, you said the grappling part's the part you enjoyed the most, but Mela Vargas is a purple belt when it comes to jiu-jitsu, and you're taking on one of the hardest challenges as a striker coming into the sport as a novice. Why is this the right opponent for your first fight in the PFL?
I got given a list and Mela was probably the to be honest, I can't even say she's inexperienced because she's got more experience than me. But she was just the one that was more of a fit. Her first fight was like a knockout, 10-second knockout, so she can whack a bit. And obviously she likes to have a little go on the floor, so it's a bit of everything.
And you mentioned Clarissa's name there. She's obviously your career rival, the only woman to inflict a defeat to you in boxing. It's part of the reason you joined the PFL and took up MMA to avenge that loss you had against Clarissa in the ring, but this time in the cage.
Yeah, 100%. I said this in an interview the other day. If the PFL would have come to me and said, "Oh, Savannah, are you interested in doing a bit of MMA, joining our league?" I'd have been, "No way. I'm not coming up against them girls or black belt, been wrestling since school." But instead they come and said, "Look, how about, would you be interested in a potential fight with Clarissa in the cage?" I was like, "Yeah, I'll sign." So that's the goal for me.
And would you prefer to fight her in the cage than in the ring? Is that your preferred kind of mode of combat heading into this potential rematch with her?
I'd say it's more exciting just because it's a new narrative. Yeah, she's a lot more experienced. I think she's had 4 or 5 fights now in the cage. She's been doing it a lot longer than me, but it's the unknown, isn't it? It's kind of. But look, if the opportunity come to fight her in the ring, I'd jump at it.
And I've heard you talk about Clarissa. Normally you're pretty quiet when it comes to your opponents, but I can tell you don't like her. And you criticised her footwork when it came to MMA. Do you still have those criticisms now that you've taken up the sport yourself?
Nah, not at all. Fair play, I take it all back. It is a lot harder than what it looks. Look, I can see. When I first watched her, I'd never done any MMA training, and I'd watched and I thought, Jesus, she's struggling, but I can see why. So look, I take it all back. Forgive me.
Do you think she's going to be there on June the 8th to see you fight in your PFL debut?
I invited her. I went to her fight in Saudi and I said, "You've got to come and watch me and sit ringside and rip me to bits like I have you." So we'll see if she fancies a trip to Newcastle.
And you mentioned Newcastle. Your first fight in the PFL is effectively in your back garden. How important is it to fight in Newcastle for your first fight in MMA?
Oh, it's a brilliant opportunity. The PFL have been amazing. For them to come to me and say, "Look, we want to take you in Newcastle for your debut," I've did it. I've headlined as a boxer. I must be the first athlete, male or female in the Northeast to headline both 2 different sports. So put me in the record books.
And if you do get the win on June the 8th, obviously we're hoping that you do, when can you see yourself fighting Clarissa, if that is the next fight for you?
I'm not sure. Wherever they say. I know the PFL are quite big in America. Maybe America. I know they're massive in Saudi. I know that obviously, look, the owners of the PFL own St James's Park, so I'd love to go there. Yeah.
And in terms of the PFL, how important is it for an organisation like this to have 2 of the greatest female boxers of all time taking up MMA? You normally see it the other way around in terms of MMA fighters going into the ring, but this time you see it the other way around. How important is it for the PFL to have 2 fighters like you and Clarissa fighting under their banner?
I think it's absolutely amazing. You've got Amanda Serrano as well, so there's three of us, and do you know what? We're all women. All women. Very rarely you see men jump to MMA, and look, I can see why, because there's no room for ego in this game. Not when you're getting strangled to death.
And we'd say that's the most humbling part of it in terms of the risk of submission, because when you're in the ring, you know you can knock somebody out, you know they can knock you out, but that's the only real threat. In the cage, there's also the threats of submissions and being knocked out. Is that the biggest part of it in terms of the change between MMA and boxing?
Yeah, there's more threats, kicks, yeah, it's savage. The way I rate way up is, I see boxing as, especially at the higher levels, a bit like a chess match where, fair enough, there's a lot of skill involved, but it's literally having a scrap and trying to hurt someone. That's how I weigh them, separate them both.
And how do you get the job done against Mela on June the 8th in Newcastle?
Oh, listen, I'd take anything. I'd take decision, I'd take knockout, I'd take submission. I just want to get that win. It's my first one.